It's easy to forget sometimes, but Yoshi has had a pretty long history as the star of his own video games. It started all the way back on the Super Nintendo with Yoshi's Island, and while there have been multiple follow-ups to that game in the years since, most people say that those games don't really live up to that original game. Well, maybe except this one, Yoshi's Woolly World. Whenever I hear people talk about the Yoshi games, these two games, Woolly World and the original Yoshi's Island, are always the ones that get brought up and people remember most fondly. So, with a new Yoshi game coming up soon, you have Yoshi and the Mysterious Book in a few months. I really was curious to see what all the hubbub was about with this one, because I'm really not familiar with the Yoshi series otherwise. And let's just say Yoshi's Woolly World is a fantastic game, incredible. So a little bit of background for this one. Yoshi's Woolly World was developed by Goodfield, and this is a developer who is really well known for making games with really unique art styles and really leaning into those art styles. So Yoshi's Woolly World, even though it's a Yoshi game, it's actually a bit of a sequel to Kirby's Epic Yarn. I have the French copy here, but this is it. And they're very similar in the sense that this game took Kirby and put him in a world entirely made of yarn. And it was a very beloved game, but it didn't really embrace all the tropes of the Kirby series up until that point. And so a spiritual successor of sorts made a lot of sense. And this time we're working with Yoshi, and I think the concept of yarn actually really fits this franchise really well. And the execution was absolutely fantastic here. I think the first thing we need to talk about is the aesthetics and the visuals, because this game looks really good. Like Kirby's Epic Yarn was already a really good looking game for the Wii, and the yarn aesthetic worked really well. But now moving up to HD resolution on the Wii U makes this game look fantastic. Like by today's standards, yes, it could be a little bit sharper in some places, but the yarn and the essence of yarn is so well conveyed in this game thanks to that higher resolution. Like everything looks really, really good, and the yarn feels realistic. Like it is such a good aesthetic that they nailed perfectly with this game. And the game not only looks great, but it really leans into that aesthetic, like to an excellent degree. Almost everything in this game is made of yarn, and everything plays into that theme. It starts like when you start a level, you see Yoshi himself being formed out of threads of yarn, it's being composed in real time in front of you. When you enter a warp pipe, you see him come loose again into threads and going into the pipe, and then he's formed back again on the other side. When you swallow an enemy, now you can turn it into a yarn ball because they're made of yarn, and it's actually a really clever way to replace the eggs that are usually in the Yoshi franchise. It makes so much sense with the yarn concept here. And then when you throw those yarn balls at enemies, you actually entangle them and they're trapped in the yarn, so you have the opportunity to attack them directly. So the yarn concept here, it really plays into everything. It's really, really clever. There are parts of the environment that are made of yarn and you can make them come apart. It's really, really cool stuff. And this kind of blends incredibly with the gameplay too. This game has so many unique and creative ideas around yarn, and it keeps introducing them to you all throughout this game. I was befuddled when I got to level 6-6, 2 levels before the final boss. And this is when they introduced a whole new concept with these strips of Velcro that are rolling around. And the Velcro, because it is Velcro and you're made of yarn, Yoshi sticks to the Velcro. It allows you to go up walls, kind of stifles your jump and your movement a little bit. And this is introduced 2 levels before the final boss. The entire game, they keep introducing new ways to use the yarn concept, and it's so clever. And even though, for example, that Velcro thing is introduced 2 stages away from the final boss, it still doesn't feel underutilized. Everything here feels like it's used just the right amount, nothing overstays its welcome, but everything is used enough to make you feel like it's an impactful part of the journey. It's so well executed. Another thing that also helps the game stay fresh are these Yoshi transformations that appear in a bunch of the stages. So every now and then you'll go into these doors that trigger special stages, like short challenge levels, I guess you could say, where you have specific power-ups for Yoshi. So in some of them, Yoshi becomes absolutely gigantic and can demolish everything in his path. In other ones, it becomes an umbrella, and that can be used with air play to you can move in specific ways through the air, Like, it's really, really interesting. And there's a few of them. There's like a good variety. None of them gets repeated too often. Like, there's 2 stages of every kind throughout the entire game. So like, there's a lot of variety here. Again, none of these ideas outstay their welcome because they're only used a couple of times. There's a good variety of them. And like, it's really, really well executed. You know, they remind me a little bit of the vehicle transformations in Kirby's Epic Yarn. Like, I think they're very similar in concept. But the thing is, Kirby's transformations there, you know, they were very gimmicky with the controls. A lot of them relied on motion controls. And they were not always super fun. I think the one that I really disliked the most was the train, because you need to point at the screen to draw the train tracks, and they kept like, it was very shaky, so a lot of the times my tracks would be just a little off because the recognition of the Wii remote sensor wasn't perfect. Like, those got a little bit annoying. With Yoshi, like, everything is based on just the button controls, so like, it works really, really well. All the transformations work well, the controls work well. You just need to learn like these things about the physics of the game and stuff. And once you nail the idea of the physics in each level, everything works really well. They're really, really fun concepts. You know, they're time-based, so there's a little bit of an extra rush to get to the end of those sections, but also still collect everything because there are some collectibles in those sections. Like, it's the perfect amount of challenge, very concise, very straight to the point, and very unique. They are executed so much better here. It's really, really good. And while we're comparing Yoshi to Kirby, it's also worth mentioning the difficulty. Kirby's Epic Yarn was a very beloved game, but it did get some criticism for being too easy because it's a game where you essentially can't die. I believe there are like no traps where you can just fall off entirely. There's like no health bar. It's just like, get to the end, and it feels in some ways like there's no real obstacle, but I think that misses the point. Like, that criticism misses the point that the challenge in Kirby's Epic Yarn isn't just to make it to the end of the game, it's to collect everything as much as possible in each level, because there are a lot of things you unlock by collecting everything. Like, that was the main point of that game. And so like, the challenge is there, it's just not what you think it is. Yoshi's Woolly World is fairly similar in concept, but it does address that concern. Here you do have a health bar. There are plenty of places where you can fall off the stage and that can mess you up. Though there are no lives, there's not a life counter, which is good also, but you know, there's a lot more challenge in that sense. You know, it's getting to the end of the stage is more of a challenge here than it is in Epic Yarn. But the focus on the collectibles is still very much here. That's still where you're going to find the main challenge in Woolly World. There are a lot of collectibles in each level, and getting all of them is what allows you to unlock the special stages, and especially like the final special stage. So what you have here is like a balance where like getting through to the end of the game is more challenging than it was in Epic Yarn, but it's not overly difficult. It's not. I don't think if you just want to get to the end of each level, it's still fairly easy. But when you get the collectibles involved, how many there are and how hard it can be to get all of them, that's where this game becomes really challenging. Like, let me tell you, I've 100% completed this game pretty much, and there were a lot of instances where I was just like yelling, "What?" at the screen. Like, it happens so many times. So yeah, there's plenty of challenge here. You're not going to miss it. If you want to be challenged, just try to go for 100% completion in this game because it is not easy. But I also want to clarify, like, as much as I am effusive with my feelings when I'm like losing in a game, like I could be screaming at the TV, but this game was never frustrating, and that's very important. Like, there are a lot of games that when you lose repeatedly or at all, you're really annoyed to have to do all of it again. I don't have that feeling here. Like, I kind of compare it to something like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, where like everything is very meticulously designed. So yes, you might lose. It is challenging. It's very challenging, but it never feels unfair. It always feels like every time you lose, you're learning something and it helps you do better the next time. And that's something that a lot of games don't really do very well. Like, there are a lot of games where dying is very frustrating. And not only that, but like, whenever you do have to replay something because you lost, Yoshi's Woolly World is still fun to play. So like, you never really get tired. Like, it's never like, oh, I have to play this again. No, it's more so like, oh, I wish I got that. So you just try again, and you're never really frustrated while playing, you know? It's challenging, but it's not frustrating. And I think that's very important. to make a game fun. Like I said, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, probably the best platformer ever in my opinion. And I think Yoshi's Woolly World is very close in terms of how it executes its difficulty. It's very, very good. I know for a proper review, I probably also have to mention the music, and I can say that like there are a lot of great catchy tunes in this game. Like there's a lot of songs in a lot of different levels that I kind of enjoy, and I find myself vibing to them a little bit, and they always fit the theme pretty well. I think it makes a bad first impression because like the main theme, I think the one that they used for like the advertisements and it plays in the first level, that theme is kind of grating. I don't like that song from the game, the main song. And I actually don't even know if it's an original composition for this game. I feel like it's part of the franchise as a whole. But anyway, I don't like that song very much. But the rest of the soundtrack in Yoshi's Woolly World is pretty darn good. Like I have to say, I'm not someone who usually cares a lot about music in games. Like it has to be very prominent for me to really have a strong opinion. So I don't think you should take my word for it necessarily in terms of the music's quality. But I do think there are a lot of catchy tunes in here. So for what that's worth, it's pretty good. At the end of the day though, I just want to say like Yoshi's Woolly World is an absolutely terrific game. Like the way that the visual identity here plays into the gameplay, like all the creative ideas you have going on throughout the entire game. Like the enemies, the environments, everything being made of yarn, even the boss fights, you know, there are some repetitions there, but it's still really good, and most of them have some original like, twists to them. Like it's really, really great. Like this is an amazing platformer. Like if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 9.5 out of 10. It's really, really good. And you know, it just has me thinking because I'm looking ahead to Yoshi and the Mysterious Book in a few months. And you know, all I'm thinking is I really hope that something like Yoshi's Woolly World is a blueprint for what's coming next, because you know, not specifically in terms of being made of yarn, I don't think that's a requirement, but you know, having a really unique creative idea and then rolling with it and leaning with it so well and executing that to perfection, like I hope they managed to do that. And you know, looking at what we've seen so far, which is very little, it does seem to have that identity visually. Like it's based on being inside the book. The aesthetic looks really, really nice, and they play into it with this sort of like almost stop motion like animation that we saw in that first trailer. Like it looks really, really good so far, like visually. I just don't think we've seen enough of the gameplay to really know whether that part is going to live up to it, but I really hope they can like come up with ideas that really play, you know, into the aesthetic of like a book, a coloring book of sorts. Like something that plays into that idea, some ideas that play around with that lean into that. I think there's probably a little less that you can do that's specific to that, but I really hope that they can nail it, because if they can keep up the quality that they did in Woolly World, that would be absolutely fantastic. And you know, we did have Crafted World on the Switch, and that didn't get as much of a, you know, a positive reception. So we'll see. I assume Goodfeel is the ones making Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. We don't know that for sure yet, I think. But I just really hope that they can deliver something as good as they did with Woolly World, because this game is just incredible. But of course, after such a great game, you know for sure I will be there day one for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, so you can expect to hear my thoughts whenever that comes out. For now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.